haven't watched all of yours yet.
Yeah.
You and Jerome, your guys were the ones that I was sleeping during.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if you ever suffer from insomnia, just tune into the Mad Haven Scotsman. Problem solved.
Right.
Yeah. No, likewise. I do apologise. I never made it to the Jerry Buting. What was it? Buting Rudolph.
The thing they did on Twitter before. You mean?
Yeah. But
just, they were all watching in their homes and live tweeting as they were watching. So it wasn't like. I mean, it was just kind of an informal event, but it
wasn't like Good Friday when we had Drizzen and Night Rider doing the.
Yeah, it wasn't like that where they were on a video and where people could, talk to them or whatever.
Yeah.
It was just they were just on Twitter. They were all just there on Twitter, but they were all like at wherever they were watching episode 8 of Innocence Files and then live tweeting as they were watching it all at the same time.
Yeah. By the way, sorry, I should of course apologize. Sorry. Hi everybody to this afternoon or this morning's wee chat that we like to have every now and again. Keep it civil, don't we, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
Keep it civil. Keep it. I mean, we have a bit of banter outside of MAM community with obviously the crunch stuff and other things. You're into your independence, and you had a member of the family join you yesterday. That was very interesting. She gave you a whole load of stuff about me, which I expect to be used at some point in the future. So, hi everybody.
It's hilarious that even she suspects that you may be you sometimes may be more English than Scottish. I thought that was funny.
I think it's difficult, isn't it? Sometimes where you were born, where you grew up. You have an affinity with that place where you're from originally. But on the other hand, I've been here now for 37 years, so it's like difficult to say that. Look, I'm a member of Great Britain. I'm a member of the UK. Whether or not that's going to continue for much longer, if the SNP have their way, is another thing.
Well, I don't know why you want to blame the SNP. I mean, they're just the thing that's erected due to the feelings of the people. They're just something you can actually point to. But I mean, look, the will of the people is shifting. What do you want?
I will concede that if you've got a situation where the Conservatives are in power in Westminster, and they have how many MPs in Scotland?
Yeah, like 4. I think.
Is it as many as that?
I think it's 4. Yeah, they used to have 7. It might even be 3, but it was yeah.
And if they've got that many MPs, if the Conservatives wanted to strengthen their hold on Westminster, they would be quite happy for Scotland to go independent. So, why are they so keen to keep Scotland part of the UK? Well, it's. I think it's a historical thing. I think people of a certain generation, as Ali alluded to yesterday, for the youngsters, they have no fear about the thought of going independent, and they want to give it a go. But for some of the older people, they definitely do not. It's a difficult.
Hey, well, look. I mean, this historical whatever. I mean, for me. I mean, you have to ask yourself. Do you believe that Westminster has Scotland's best interest at heart? I really don't think they do.
Do you think they've ever had Scotland's best?
No, I really don't.
Ever been the case?
Since you asked, no, I really don't, because in my studies, I can go all the way back to 1979 and show you some shit that makes me want to freaking, kill people. I'm like, I can't believe the shit that Westminster was pulling, moving the bar, in the election. Like first, they were, because in 79 they were voting for devolved parliament. And it was basically if the vote came out in favor of a devolved parliament, then they were going to get a devolved parliament all the way back in 1979. But just before the vote, some MP in Westminster pushes some piece of, whatever through that then moves the bar on the vote. So now it didn't just have to be a winning vote for yes for a devolved parliament. It now required that 50% of the population had to vote yes. Well, only and here's the part that really pissed me off. Something like 63% of the population turned out to vote. So you can see the problem there. By moving the bar like that and making that requirement late in the game the way they did, it was to ensure, so when you see dirty pool like that going all the way, no, I agree with you, Paul. No, they have never been looking out for Scotland's best interest. And when it comes to why does Westminster not want to lose Scotland? You say about history and all that, and that's fine. There may be some of that, but honestly, do you believe Westminster politicians are moved by that kind of, not money?
Well, I'm if Scotland was a burden on the UK, if Scotland was this huge burden, then I would accept that. Then surely Westminster would be quite happy to say, if you want your independence and we don't have to keep subsidising you, fine. But yes, I think there is. There is a certain
you just said that England is subsidizing Scotland. Go on. I have a point to make later. Go on.
Well, no, that's the point.
But that's what they think. Yes.
If that was the case, that England was subsidising Wales, Northern Ireland, and Scotland, but what you've got to bear in mind is that there's a whole lot of politics here, because if Scotland got independence, then what do you do with Wales and Northern Ireland? Will they then want to become independent? Well, you know what the problem over there in Northern Ireland is. It got very, very serious, didn't it? It got to be a complete mess, and anyway. Let's just say that when it comes to any future vote on, well, as was the last case, I actually voted to stay in. I voted for independence. What did I vote as regards to Europe? You know what? It was that unimportant to me. I honestly can't remember. I can remember going and voting, but I don't really care too much whether we're in or out, because it's just such a shambles.
Yeah, a lot of Scots do care though. And but so here's my thing. And this is the ultimate point for me. I mean, people keep asking me, why are you so gung-ho about Scottish independence? Here's why. Scotland has been subsidizing the UK for a very long time, and everything I see in the media, everything I see coming out of England and Westminster is talking about how the Scots are so little, so insignificant, so blah, 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 blah. And the fact is, when you look at it, and folks, I've posted some videos over on my Doctor Who channel where you can hear it from Gordon McIntyre Kemp, brilliant economist. He tells it to you himself and brings out the figures and shows you what's going on. So Scotland's been subsidizing England. The only reason, folks, England's saying better together is because they still want your oil in Scotland. They still want the natural gas. They still want the 1/3 of the England's natural resources, or the UK's natural resources, coming from Scotland. The reason they don't want Scotland out of the union, folks, is not because you're too poor, or you're too wee, or you're too stupid, or any of the other dumbass shit that they say you are. It's because they can't live without what you bring to the table. I'm not saying independence is the answer necessarily for all Scots, but all Scots need to look at that hard fact, because that hard fact right there, I think, is huge, and it's been misrepresented for a very long time. And there you go. I'm off my soapbox.
Anyway, how's your whiskey collection? Has it been seriously damaged?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. Okay.
I still got the Johnny Double Black. I got almost a full bottle of that one.
I will replace it.
I got a pretty big bottle of Cuervo here. Apparently the Scotsman doesn't like the Cuervo.
What is it? Cuervo. What is that?
It's tequila.
Tequila. No, Eunice likes tequila. I'm not too. It's got like a worm at the bottom.
No, Moscow would have a worm at the bottom. Tequila doesn't usually. Moscow is a little slightly different than tequila. It looks like tequila, but it's actually made from cactuses.
All right. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm glad. Well, obviously the whiskey is made from thistles, so you know.
There you go. See, another export of Scotland there.
Well, the thing is, obviously we're in a COVID-19 crisis, you know, and I checked with my my first pupils last Sunday. They were the parents are both doctors, and I checked with them and said, you know, if we cannot inject ourselves with disinfectant, surely the next best thing is to ingest plenty of alcohol, because that also has the same cleansing effect. And he confirmed that was definitely the case. He said, Paul, you have as much whiskey as you like. So this is official.
Right.
Official, you know.
I'll bet those doctors enjoyed their glass of wine. Or maybe 10.
Yes. Anyway, the reason I asked you to come along was because, well, let's first of all take you back to some interesting articles, okay? Maybe you can remember this one. Oh, sorry, I need to screen share first, don't I? Sorry, do apologize for that. That was, you know what? I have to keep. Are you keeping a track of this video? Can you see what's coming up, dude?
Am I keeping track of this video?
No, I mean, have you got it on another screen? I've only got the one screen. I'm going to get two screens at some point, but I need to every now and again. I need to check, make sure that my yeah, there it is. It's working. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll do this. I'll click on that, and hopefully, if we get there we go. Look at that, eh? So, can you remember this article? Let me go to the top.
Well, yeah, maybe vaguely, yeah.
You can see that, okay?
Yes.
It's probably my favorite article of all, isn't it? It's probably the one I quote most of all by Mr. Farrak, for obvious reasons. Yeah, and it's what did I do then?
Whoop! You clicked over to a different story.
There we go. There we go. That's sorry about that. Apologies for that. But anyway, yes, it's obviously one of the best articles by John Farrak. Yeah. Yeah. And we've got obviously there we've got Scott Fairgrieve talking about it. So I want to come down to this bit here. I know exactly where I'm. Oh, an interesting photograph of the yard and the quarry. I mean, you know, look, John Farrak knew what was going on back there, like when he started looking at. But here we go. Here we go. Here's the. So, could I get you to read from there? Fairgrieve said he's willing.
Okay, Fairgrieve said he's willing to give Calumet Manitowoc deputies the benefit of the doubt. He attributes their forgetfulness to take photos to their lack of knowledge and inexperience at investigating death scenes, particularly homicides involving a badly burned body. I don't buy that shit.
No.
If you're going to talk about stuff like the CSI effect in juries, you're not going to get me to believe a law enforcement officer doesn't know how important it is to document the finding of a freaking body.
Well,
sorry, I'm not buying.
Let's carry on.
I just had to say that right there while I was thinking it. So
yeah.
I don't necessarily think that the police were malicious, Fairgrieve said.
So
I find that hard to believe, but their mistakes here was because of the type of case this was and the high profile nature. They did not want to let it sit. What should have been done was to protect the scene until you get all your forensic experts there. But they operated out of ignorance.
Okay, so he was the guy who actually was hired by Dean and Jerry.
Yes.
Yeah. Now we get, and this is what I was contacting you about over the last week or so.
Right. Brent Turvey, a national
whose nickname is not Topsy, by the way.
Brent Turvey, a national recognized forensic scientist in Alaska, contends that only a couple of logical reasons explain why deputies did not take photos at the 3 different locations in the Halbach murder probe. It is either negligence or it is intentional, he said.
What do you think? I mean, seriously.
Well, judging by what I said after the first paragraph,
yeah.
I think it's intentional because look, folks, if they're going to talk about the CSI effect on layman people in a jury and how people are watching these shows and watch how these shows act when there's a body found and it's, whatever. So if we're going to try to literally, really seriously try to make the claim that cops don't understand that when they find pieces of a body that's serious business, I can't. It's hard. That doesn't wash for me. That to me strains credulity, as Luke Berg might say.
Oh, don't we just love a bit of Luke Berg on a Sunday afternoon? What is he a well-known DJ or something? He on about?
Luke Berg was
I'm kidding.
Okay, good. When he said strain credulity, I love he loved using it against Brendan. So and it's such an apt phrase so often with bullshit with the state. I just love to use it to describe things of the state as well. So anyway.
Go on then.
All right. So Turvey said the sheriff's officials and investigators from Manitowoc and Calumet counties were properly trained. They had experience investigating other crimes such as burglaries, sexual assaults, drunk driving fatalities, and domestic violence where photography is common. Moreover, the National Institute of Justice has published guidelines for processing crime scenes. These standards are followed routinely by police agencies across the country, which is why I go on and on about SOP, folks.
Yep.
Anyways, these principles advise police to take overall photos at a scene, mid-range photos, and close-ups of physical evidence. The idea of not photographing the evidence in the Stephen Avery case, you just can't escape what Turvey said. It's either because of apathy or you just don't care, or corruption. They are willfully depriving the investigation of evidence in order to obscure the truth. It is not lack of training.
No.
Taking photos at a death scene is not some mysterious art form, Turvey added. The question is, why didn't they do it in this particular case?
Okay, so that's one of the articles that Mr. Brent Turvey contributed in. Here's another one. Legal expert blasts Avery prosecutor. If we come on down, we've also got some more from Mr. Turvey, Mr. Topsy Turvy. Mm-hmm. I have to find it first. It's I had it all set up, but then my green screen crashed. So I thought, well, I can either preserve the marking points of all the various articles that I've got up, or I can put up my green screen. And I thought, well, for the sake of my art, I thought, well, probably best to go with the green screen, don't you think?
Yeah, it would have been.
So you would as well, wouldn't you, dude? Eh?
So when you say your green screen crashed, what do you mean exactly?
Well, because when it gets to the point where you've got so much stuff on your computer that the computer can't handle it, and so it crashes the green screen.
You need memory. Okay.
I've got a good memory, I think. Have I?
I meant in your computer.
Right, okay.
See, that's why your green screen is crashing, because there's so little room on the drive, it can't move data around very well. It doesn't have enough empty space to move things around very well, and it crashes. So
it probably
get some more memory, and that'll solve that problem.
It probably needs you can do what you call a refrag or something. Is that right?
You can reformat it. Yes, that's
refrag. Yeah. But listen, my computer shop guy is shut at the moment, so I'll just struggle on. Feel sorry for me in the outback here in Scotland. Anyway, the next bit of Mr. Turvey.
See, Brent Turvey, a nationally recognized forensic scientist and criminal profiler in Alaska, said the crime scene evidence collected from inside the Avery residence does not match up with Kratz's salacious and inflammatory press conference statements around the time of Dassey's arrest and purported confession to the pair of investigators. Ken Kratz gives this false story, Turvey said, is pure fantasy. The entire theory comes from the fantasies of these police investigators interviewing Dassey. The problem here is that Kratz gave false information, this whole sexual fantasy, talking about Teresa Halbach talking and begging and yelling, when none of this had any forensic science to back it up. Why does this matter? Because you are not allowed to gin up the public and misrepresent the evidence when talking to the press. And the only reason you do that is when you and the police don't have a good case to begin with. Ken Kratz was trying this case in the press to disparage the defendants. What these judges should have done was put a gag order in place. There should have been some consequences from the Wisconsin Bar Association, and the judge who is seeing this nonsense go on should have put a stop to this. Nobody in this case wanted a fair trial, except maybe Stephen and Dean and Jerry.
Well, yeah,
but you know.
So that was the contribution by Mr. Brent Turvey. So I'm sure you're probably wondering, well, who is Mr. Brent Turvey?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure you're going to tell us.
Well, I'm sure I am. I've been in touch with Mr. Brent Turvey. I'm just going to very quickly, 2 seconds. If you want to have a quick read of that first statement.
Let's see, Paul. Let's see. There are non-minimum educational requirements, as many of our students are enrolled in university completing their respective degree programs. Our professional students in law enforcement also require accommodation in some cases, but they will have completed professional training indicating their level of ability. If you wish to promote, please do. Attached are some of the promotional images. Use freely, Brent. I guess the whiskey bottle was further away than he anticipated. You got that? You got that bottle of whiskey now? You good?
So yeah, apologies for that. But obviously this having to consume this amount of alcohol for my for the good of my blood system is it just play havoc from time to time. Yeah. So obviously,
Lysol.
You exactly. You know me. I'm a bit of a troll of the internet. So the name Brent Turvey, it registered with me when I came across something. I can't remember what it was. Yes, it was to do with the fact that Brent Turvey had commented somewhere. And I thought, Brent Turvey, I recognize that name. Where do I recognize that name from? And I checked it up and I got in touch with him and said, are you the same Brent Turvey? You must be the Brent Turvey that did these great interviews with John Farrak where you talk about the case. And he said, yeah. So anyway, I got in touch with him and he's doing... in 2 weeks' time, starting, let's see, yes, I think it's the 15th of May when they start off. He's doing these criminology courses, and he said, "Yeah, by all means." Sorry, did you manage to see that? Okay, because it's a bit small.
Yeah, no, I read it.
So anyway, I'd initially asked him if it was okay to share some of this stuff. So he does this Forensic Criminology Institute course stuff, where they look to obviously learn to ask the right questions. He's running a professional diploma in criminal profiling. It's 120 hours on site or obviously at the moment online. And it starts
interested in the online.
It is online.
Yeah.
This is Brent Turvey.
But I did mention above in his message to you that it does seem that there are still some requirements to be able to do it. Prerequisites.
I thought he was saying that
like you said, they have to make accommodations for.
There are non-minimum educational requirements, as many of our students are enrolled in university, so therefore they've obviously proved themselves as being capable of. I'm sure that must be small print, difficult to read, but I'll read it.
But they will have completed professional training indicating their level of ability. That was the bit that concerned me.
It says here, yeah, our professional students in law enforcement also require accommodation in some cases, but
right.
they, in other words, but they will have completed professional training indicating their level of ability. So in other words, if you're not in law enforcement, there's no minimum requirement. If you're in law enforcement, they will have completed some professional training, so hopefully they will also be up to speed.
All right. Well, if it's open to the public, that's great.
Yeah. It's well. Let's run through some of the photographs.
I think it might be interesting, just to see how much of it goes over my head or not.
Yeah, absolutely. This is why I thought it would be good to share with everybody, because it's all well and good. If next Mammothon we might get a criminal profiler come on and talk about things. But at least let's be aware of what sort of things they do, and how would you become one of these criminal profilers? Well, this is one of the courses that people would go on, and this isn't like the Michael West School of odontology. This is a proper scientist. A proper scientist who has been contacted by John Farrak, to give his opinion on the Avery case, and I think he's spot on, don't you?
Yeah.
So anyway, the victim learned to ask the right questions. This is Brent Turvey. Looks a bit like Steven Seagal. I don't know. Do you think a bit of Steven Seagal about him? Yeah,
a bit of that maybe. His hair was longer.
I don't know that you would want to argue with him.
Up though.
Oh, so yes, yeah. Is that Jerome?
It looks like these are a little higher. So it looks like these are different courses. So the first one was
one course. It's as I say, 120 hours.
Oh, okay. So these are just different ads for the same course. Okay, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No worries. Mm-hmm. And as I say, I did check with Brent to say that it was okay to, and he sent me the stuff to Forensic Criminology. The criminal learn to ask the right questions. It's I suppose it's not rocket science, but let's keep going. So yes, the idea is that the crime scene learn to ask the right questions. Some of this is aimed at law enforcement. There Brent is. I think he does quite a lot in Latin America. I suspect that's where we are in this picture here. I think that's but here you go. Here's the bit that you're interested in. What's being covered in the so many hours? Would you like to read out what we've got here? The themes.
Forensic victimology, basic protocols. Let's see, false allegations and simulation, victimology, ecological model, forensic interview, crime scene analysis, criminal profiling, behavioral evidence, criminal profiling cases, state crimes and torture, serial crimes, medical examination investigation. Injuries analysis to analyze wounds. Okay. Criminal psychology, case linking, ethics on the forensic practice, and written reports and testimony. So basically going through paperwork. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now this is interesting down here at the bottom, because that's basically the institute's all the courses they offer there. 84 course hours there. plus thesis. So all those different classes they offer. It's pretty interesting.
And it says here, the Forensic Criminology Institute, the Forensic Criminology Institute has been providing postgraduate education and training in forensic science and criminal profiling subjects since 2015. Programs are on-site and online with our partners in the United States and Latin America. This will be our 9th generation of international students. Program dates, May 15th, September the 13th, 2020. And there is the details that you actually need. The online modules, which I think you've just read through.
Yeah,
I think
I was looking at them. Yeah, those are the 84-hour courses and the
yeah, and it's $495 US, 84 courses and thesis. But I read that it's available as monthly payments, so I think it's
helpful.
It's
not really spend $500 in one go.
No, but if you're spreading it over between now and 6 months' time, which I think is when the course finishes, I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah,
I thought that's quite. And if you want to know a little bit more about Mr. Turvey, let me get you a little bit more about Mr. Turvey, because that's. Let me just click on that one. So thoughts so far? I mean, dude, I remember you were talking about the fact that, if you had the opportunity, you would love to be able to do like a private investigator. And I'm sure there's people out there that just want to know as much as they possibly can about this sort of, and particularly understanding the, for me, the victimology here in obviously in Stephen Brendan's case. I mean, why Teresa Holbach?
Right.
Why her? It just. She's been to the yard how many times?
Right. When you look for motive in this, there's a potential source of motive, but it's not Stephen Avery or Brendan Dassey.
No, it's not. Having been obviously, having done a load of live presentations, thanks to Fleetside's excellent work, I think we do have to look further afield. I think it's a bit, to imagine that it was just Scott or Bobby, and they just did it completely just out of a whim. When it's days before Kasurik and Vogel are about to take the depositions. Mm-hmm. I find that very, very hard to imagine. Do you?
Well, it's like I said. Yeah, there's too many. The timing of things, everything about it is just fishy and suspect. And like I said, yeah, the motive points at the state, not at Avery. State has every reason to want to revilify Stephen Avery. He is a huge thorn in their side. At that point, was the state taking advantage of something that had happened to Teresa? I mean, there's a lot of questions, but certainly during this investigation, the state wasn't interested in what really happened. If they felt what really happened deviated from what they wanted at all, they didn't want anything to do with it. They just wanted what they wanted, and that was Avery. And they wanted his ass in a sling, and that's what they got. They needed to revilify him to make all those problems go away.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And killing him, putting the...
made him go away.
Yeah, we're not made it go away. So anyway, here we go. Here's a little bit more about the course. which hopefully will be of interest. So here we go. So hopefully this will come up. There we go. So first of all, do you want a quick look at the? So this is all information that's out there. This is. So I don't know if you can see that. Okay, Brent Turvey, 1996, PhD, has performed casework as a forensic scientist, crime reconstructionist. You remember that not Fred West. I'm always going to say Fred West. Michael West was also to do with that. But this guy has got some definite credentials behind him. And also what was interesting, there's a guy here, Paul Ciolini, is also part of this Forensic Solutions. So there we go. There's the. Here's what they do: crime reconstruction. Is it obviously it's for your criminal profiling premise? Premise is liability. Well, hopefully we won't need too much of that. Where was there? There was something I saw. No, can't see it there. Okay, we'll go back to this bit. As I say, download our 2020 brochure to the right and scroll down to learn more. But let's just come on down and see what we've got down here, okay?
Let's see.
Yeah, okay. So crime reconstruction. If you want to start off on that.
Crime reconstruction is the determination of the actions and events surrounding the commission of a crime. It is accomplished by the scientific examination and interpretation of all the physical evidence and related testing. These results are then compared to the statements of witnesses, living victims, and suspects. Crime reconstruction is the domain of forensic scientists training as generalists, as it requires the intersectional understanding and evaluation of reports from multiple investigative and forensic professionals, some of which may be more reliable or scientific than others.
Does that remind you of anybody?
Yeah. It's basically just saying that the crime reconstruction folks are more of a jack of all trades, and that they understand all the different disciplines, but obviously those who specialize in certain areas will have a deeper understanding than these crime reconstructionists who are more general. That's all that's saying. It's doing it in a very wordy way, but
yeah, but this next bit, crime reconstruction, includes trace evidence examination, bloodstain pattern. Now, I mean, has Nick Stolke been on this course? What I fail to understand is how could he be so wrong as for? I remember the bit Ken Kratz says so as if a body had been thrown into the back of the car. And he's gesturing it as if he's got some, a couple of bits of paper in his arm. But we're talking about, how tall was Teresa? About 5'8", 5'9"?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, about 130 pounds. You're not just going to fling somebody into the back of a car, even with the two of them.
Right.
As I say, well, we know that Nick Stolke, apparently his area of expertise was in handwriting analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, let's crime scene analysis.
A CSA is a comprehensive investigative and forensic report, examines and interprets the behavioral evidence associated with a particular crime or a series of related crimes. It includes a crime reconstruction section, a forensic victimology section, and a crime scene characteristics section to assess modus operandi, signature, and motive-related behaviors. This information is a requirement for the completion of most non-laboratory investigative and forensic reporting, and the purposes for its collection are detailed in both national and agency-related protocols. Forensic criminologists are often involved in the aggregation of this evidence into one report and related behavioral interpretations.
Again, something that never went on, did it? It just never went on. Criminal profiling. This is interesting.
This is an investigative tool that infers offender characteristics from the analysis of criminal behavior. It is based on the examination completed during a CSA. It is useful for focusing in on offender motivation, understanding victim selection, and narrowing the suspect pool to allocate resources more effectively. When it is used in court by overzealous or unqualified analysts, the quality of results can vary. Forensic criminologists may become involved when there is a need to assess the nature and quality of criminal profiles that are being used in a overconfident fashion, or in a manner that is not bound to any scientific literature and established protocols.
Well, that certainly relates to your bogus scientific experts, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
referring to things that aren't widely accepted, basically.
Yeah. One more case linkage. I don't think we need to look at premises liability, but
case linkage or linkage analysis is the process of determining whether there are reliable connections between two or more previously unrelated cases, generally using the results of crime scene analysis. In accordance with legal rulings, this is accomplished through a careful examination of offender modus operandi and signature behavior, and expressed with established levels of certainty. Forensic criminologists become involved when courts allow testimony on case linkage issues for the purpose of demonstrating a common plan, scheme, or a design in actual or alleged serial offenses. This legal theory is generally used when there is no physical evidence linking the cases. It may also involve uncharged offenses. Consequently, there is a need to ensure that the scientific literature is not being misrepresented, that contradictory behavioral evidence is not being ignored, and that the established investigative protocols have been followed.
I think we've got one more bit at the...
I don't think any of those three things were done in the Avery case, but anyway.
No. There you go. False allegations, staged crime scenes.
A false report or false allegation refers to any untruthful statement, accusation, or complaint to authorities asserting that a crime did or will occur. A false reporter is one who makes false allegations or reports. False reporting is generally a crime, even when reports are made indirectly to authorities by a third party, such as a friend, intimate partner, spouse, employer, counselor, or medical professional. Similarly, staged crime scenes are intended to simulate an event other than what actually occurred, either to deflect responsibility to another person or hide the crime entirely. Forensic criminologists are involved in the assessment of false allegations and staged crime scenes as a routine matter. They must be considered as possibilities in every case. This requires crime reconstruction, discerning evidentiary inconsistencies, and the consideration of established red flags. In civil matters, it also involves a review of investigative protocols to determine whether investigators met their basic duty of care as defined by their respective agencies and professional community standards.
So I think that's all fair enough. I think we have here, yes, there we have the Venturi CV. And it's 32 pages, so I wouldn't expect you to read through it all. But this is basically the guy that we're dealing with that runs the courses. Can I make that bigger? Yes, I can. What was interesting is he's been to Australia. Too fast. I've gone too fast. Hold on a sec. Apologies for that. Bond University, Queensland, Australia. Just north of
yeah, there you go.
The Hod. Various places. Connecticut, Oregon. Case experience.
Fun place to be.
Yes. Case experience since 1996.
When I go there, a Matt Havering Scotsman steals beer mugs for me.
Yeah. Well, if I didn't, you wouldn't have the nice how-to. You see, that's the problem. So yeah, when you look at the number of cases that court experience, when you come down here to all these different cases, look at that versus Damien Eccles.
Yep.
Top of the list.
Yep.
There's a load of names here that he's been involved in. So
right.
Anyway, I thought that was. So we'll just quickly whiz down. There's a whole load of stuff there. He's from Alaska. He runs these. What are we looking at here? Forensic consultations on the following major cases. Various cases versus various people, where he's been an expert. And I just think it's interesting that, you know, probably somebody like Michael West has got a whole load of cases that he's been involved in.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, this is proper science that this guy is doing.
Right.
You know, you can tell that by his comments to John Farrak. The guy knows what he's doing. This is what we need, isn't it? You know, we need people who actually know their stuff, that know what they're talking about when they're going to take the witness stand. And yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. All the way from the Palisade,
Miller's Point, the Rocks.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Have you watched yet the Murder to Mercy?
Murder to Mercy.
Cyntoia Brown story. It's just one long film, but very, very much a case of this is to me it just smacked me as being, this is Netflix saying to Governor Evers, you know, to me they're driving an agenda here. Do you not see it? The Innocence Files, this sort of stuff. It's like just hammer it out. We've got all this stuff. You need to take notice. You need to pay attention to the fact that there is all this wonkiness, to use the technical term, going on.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's so. If you want to ask me about the Cyntoia thing, I mean, this is where some people are going to probably be a little bit pissed at me. Look, I don't know. I believe she shouldn't have done her full sentence. I don't believe she should have. I believe the amount of time she was given was probably was an overreaction. I believe she was a scared 16-year-old girl in a lot of ways, but she was kind of in the lifestyle. So it was a little hard for me to swallow that she didn't understand the consequences of her actions. So there was always that. So I felt, and this is going to piss people off at me, but I always felt she was somewhat responsible for her own actions. Having said that, she was still just a 16-year-old kid, scared, had run away from home, and was basically relying on the kindness of strangers, essentially, and that sort of thing. And it put her in a dangerous situation. So at some point, we have to stop blaming her. And that's what I think mainly what this thing was about, is at some point we have to stop blaming her or other kids like her who end up in that situation and end up out of fear one night committing a crime that they wish they didn't, right? I mean, I believe she was scared. I believe she thought he might have been reaching for something, a knife, something to hurt her. I believe she may have believed that and thought that. I mean, I'm not questioning that. It's just she ended up there in the first place, and I don't believe she was completely naive about that. So I believe she needs some responsibility, but at some point we have to stop. We have to stop and go, okay, but wait, how much of this is really her responsibility, and how much of this is actually our own responsibility in society or in our own communities? How much? You know, because she's slipping through the cracks. She's not living at home. She's probably not going to school, and she was getting into drugs, and she was just headed down a bad path. So how much of this do we have to accept the responsibility for as citizens? How much of it do we have to accept?
From an ethics point of view, I think the fact that, you know, this Shintoya accepted the fact that, yes, she shot the fellow. You know, whether or not what was being engaged in is allowed in that part of the country, I don't know. Is prostitution allowed where that took off? I don't think so.
Probably not.
I can't think of many. Are there any areas of America where prostitution is legal?
No, it's generally illegal everywhere.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because, you know, obviously, I don't know where rule is, but in Holland, certainly Amsterdam, it's not illegal, but they've taken the point of view that, you know, if you can't do anything about it, at least try and regulate it. You know. Well, and you know, you don't hear of
you actually make it more desirable by people. That's another side of it. That's
yeah. But I mean, you know, either client or customer in the red light district of Amsterdam. But as I say, I don't you know, I don't know that for sure. But
it's going to happen when those drugs are involved.
Yeah.
So, you know.
But as I say, I just thought that from the point of view that this was Netflix's way of saying to Governor Evers, you know, if Shintoya Brown, if you're going to give her the, you know, the pardon, the clemency,
right?
You know, for goodness sake, look at Brendan's case. You know, you have got all of these amicus briefs that should have gone. You know, I mean, this is the thing that really annoys us, because if you remember, I said to you, this is way back when argue his case.
Well, spark.
Yeah.
Oh nope, it just froze. It's about to start buffering, and there's the buffering. Well, Paul, it's been fun. I think we got our presentation in before it started screwing up.
Yes, we did.
Okay, well, it's back. There it is. It's moving. Yeah, it does keep buffering, so it looks like YouTube might be having some issues right now. Or maybe internet service providers might be having a little glitch. I don't know.
Scotland.
Yeah, everybody says we're back, so I don't know. What else you got?
Well, that's painful. How far has this community grown since you started doing YouTubes?
Oh, it's been amazing. It's something I was thinking about last night when I was I was sitting there last night pulling clips I was extracting Jinxie. So I have to sit there and listen to it, obviously, which I didn't mind, while I'm recording it for him.
Yeah.
And so I was getting to go back and listen to Linda again, because I had pretty much caught most of. I realized I had missed some bits with Jinxie, so I was like listening to that, and I was just into that, and then the part when J-Jax comes in and just listening to really complimentary of each other, and you can see just the whole thing of the community, you know, and how. You know, and they're expressing about how much they love seeing the community come together and those sort of things. And they were talking about that and commenting on that. And then I was really touched when both of them started referring to me and talking about how, you know, they felt like I've helped make this situation where all these people can come up and come together, and how they felt that I kind of maybe greased the wheels for that kind of situation or whatever. I don't want to take credit for it because you guys are all great and you guys choose to make noise for Stephen and Brendan of your own free will. So, but if in fact if in fact Stacy and Jerome are right and I have somehow eased that, then I'm happy to do it. But I was just very touched watching the two of them talk, and just, you know, and of the beginning of my final segment where I brought in Sharon and Jamie and
not me. It's not.
And then I had Brandon Maddox. So yeah. I mean, for me, I was just like sitting there pulling these clips and watching as I was pulling them and like just reminiscing about it all. And I was getting a little bit like just touched just listening to everything. I was just like, this is a great community we have. I mean, as long as we have this great community that comes together for an event like Mammothon and makes a really big noise for Stephen and Brendan, makes a really big noise. I did a video last week with the HOD to introduce it. Yeah. We're looking to create another streaming event where we talk about wrongful convictions, and we're going to do a lot of hopefully, if I'm as good as I hope I am, or if I'm as good as everybody thinks I am, hopefully I'll get a lot of exonerated people on to be interviewed for that weekend, and we'll have another event where people can really learn a lot about this stuff. And I think it's important, folks, because I think learning about other wrongful convictions, and I can't say this enough, is important in helping you inform your arguments when you're arguing for Stephen and Brendan. So that when people are saying, oh, yeah, well, how can you explain? Oh, well, I can explain that because it happened in this other case, the case of Joe Schmo in Texas, where this exact same thing happened and it was proven that blah, 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 blah. It helps you inform your argument so that when people try to look at you incredulously and try to tell you that what you're talking about is complete crap, you can go, no, it's not complete crap because here's evidence of it happening before. That's the thing about wrongful convictions and learning about more than just Stephen and Brendan's that is going to be very helpful. So I would encourage everybody to continue learning.
Well, absolutely. I applaud everything you just said there. Can I just point out that after Mammothon 2019, I did what I thought was my best effort at listing everybody who had been involved as either a host or a guest or a mod.
Uh-huh.
And there were people that were missing from that list. And my list ran for 42 names. I would suggest that it's, I wouldn't want to be the person adding up how many people were involved in Mammothon this year when you've got so many hosts, so many guests, so many people involved. And, we haven't had, our last Mammothon was after Series 2 came out. Our latest Mammothon, there hasn't been a new Mammothon, a new Making a Murderer come out. And yet the community has grown.
Yeah. It grows. That was another thing I was trying to really make clear with Mammothon this year. I fought to get the new hosts involved, because I felt like it was important, I think, for people to see how many more people are getting out there and getting vocal about it. Mm-hmm. And so it's not, the wave is not, the tide is not receding. No, the tide is coming in. It's still coming in. So.
Forgive my ignorance, but I know of 4 channels, YouTube channels, that in the last year have started and gone to over 1,000 or near enough 1,000. That's Linda, Andrew, Foulplay, Millbilly.
Right. Yeah.
In less than a year.
Right.
They've gone from just starting out to being. And
now we've got Sharon Sunshine and Jane Sharp as a Pencil. Her own little channel. So I encourage everybody to go and check that out. I believe that they're live in like an hour. Let me see here. I had that up on let me see.
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't have it up anymore.
Well, the thing I was going to say was that yes, Sharon Sunshine, don't worry, we are socially distancing. The dude is in his studio. I'm on Crunch Island, so we're okay. But no, the point is that when it comes to talking about, for example, the Brent Turvey course that people can go on, it might not be any of us that go on the course, but we could talk to somebody who could then talk to somebody else that says, "Well, I saw a thing about the other day that there's a course in this, criminal profiling and stuff, So therefore, in the same way, the more people that are out there talking about it, it's not dying down. It's growing. It's accelerating. It's more and more people are becoming aware of the wonkiness of what went on in Manitowoc in 2005.
Right. Well, it's definitely hanky.
Yeah.
Or wonky. Either way.
But would you like to do it? Would you like to hazard a guess as to, how many people do you think were involved in it this year? When you consider hosts alone, 8, 9 different hosts.
There was
guests, average at least 4 or 5 guests.
Right.
So what's that? That's say 5. That's 45 plus the 9. Well, already, you're well over.
Yeah.
What we had last year.
So apparently, I made a mistake. It's Diane who's speaking with conviction. I think who's live, and I think it's going to be about maybe an hour and a half, an hour. So, so I was wrong.
You can't possibly be wrong, dude. You'll never
earlier, but there's lots of stuff happening all at once. So
Yeah. So that's Diane on the channel of.
Well, it's her own channel, I believe. I had it up. Hold on, let me see if I can.
Is that Diane Little Misty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I set a reminder, but obviously it's not close to the time yet. Oh, here, let me go into history. I'll find it that way. Come on, history. Hello.
I'm here. I'm on your history.
Oh, yeah, I was listening to music for a while. There we go. Oh, I guess, no, it doesn't show up in my history when I set the reminder. Oh, that's brilliant. That's great. Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay, hold on.
Sharper than the pencil here. She might be able to help us out.
See, all this stuff is new, so I don't have them. I don't have all these.
There we go. Sharon's posted.
There we go. Here we go.
Diane Perry. Here we go. Let's put that up. Okay. Oh, wrong one. There we go. Is that? Have I got the right one? Is that right? Diane Perry. Yes. And here we go. Here's. Diane Perry, 1984.
Is she wearing a red cowboy hat? All right, hold on here.
Yeah, Diane Little Misty, 84. Yeah, so I'll subscribe to that. And then we'll see what.
Boy, there's a lot of Diane Perrys.
Welcome to my channel. Yes, 45 minutes time.
Ah, see, I told you. Coming up. It was coming up. All right.
And finally, because a lot of people have been asking me this about the. Let me just come back here. The whole purpose of Mammothon was to. The first one, obviously, was to raise money for the guys, Steve and Brendan. But I would just like to point out that this year, our chosen charity is there along the bottom. The dude is seriously in need of more Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper should be filling that fund by now with all the free advertising you're giving him. But anyway.
I do apologize for finishing off your Scotch whiskey. I thought at least I can make up for it. So please do give generously to the fund, to the Dr. Pepper fund for the dude, because every little helps. Anyway, dude, my tea is ready for me, so I'm going to go and grab my tea, and then I'll tune into Little Misty. So you want to share something?
Yeah, one thing.
Go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
That is got us watching ourselves. Anyway, that is this. I would just say, Paul, my biggest concern for you guys as Scots is when the natural resources potentially start to run out, the very, very sucky situation Scotland could find itself in at that point in time. But anyways, that's my last word on independence there. Not sure where Mr. Capaldi's gone. He's leaving you guys to look into infinity, so I'll leave you guys to it. And obviously he might be over micturating on his own rug. So, or that was me. Sorry, I guess I was doing that. So, where is Paul at? That's the question, though.
So, are you finished, dude? I thought you were.
Yeah, we've been here for ages waiting on you.
I thought you wanted to show something on your screen. Listen, it's been awesome as usual. Take care, everybody out there, and go over and check out Diane Little Misty. Yes. So Jane Sharp, we expect a channel off you pretty soon, because as I was explaining earlier today, that everybody.
I'll be on her channel next week on Sunday, by the way.
Yeah, everybody that was a guest on Mamathon this year is then to be the host next year, and this is how we.
Right.
This is how we grow it. But isn't it weird how there are so many people now who wouldn't have been either hosts or more particularly that wouldn't have been guests on previous years, and they've now stepped forward.
Right. It's well, I mean, people continue to get brave. They get braver, and they get over that hump of getting public and getting on YouTube. That's a big hump for a lot of people.
I mean, what also struck me is the fact that, I don't know about you, but I hardly get anything from any guilders anymore. They've just completely gone away. They've kind of given up. They've said, look, we cannot stop this tidal wave of supporters coming at us, because they just keep growing and growing and growing and getting more and more vocal about this.
Yeah, I mean it's because we can.
Yeah,
people like me got into it, looking into it, going, okay, either with Brendan I was sure he was innocent, but with Stephen I was like, okay, I'm either going to find evidence that he's guilty, and whatever, or I'm going to find more evidence that he's not.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went digging, and that's I found there's more evidence that he's not. And I mean, honestly, going into it, I'll be honest with some people. I honestly went into it hoping that I would be able to find something that would easily reconcile it in my mind that Stephen was guilty, so that I didn't have to worry about it and have it weighing on my own kind of conscience. I was almost preferring to just find something that would then excuse that one, but it didn't happen.
Yeah,
it didn't happen. I just saw more and more stuff that came out cutting against the state. So, anyways, are you? I know you've tried to end this thing 3 times now. So,
well, am I prepared to let you go? I suppose so.
oh, really?
I think you've done a good job.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So yes.
So yeah, everybody go check out Diane Lomisty 84.
Yeah. Personally, I'm going to be looking at a little bit more of the, how do we fix the situation? How, for example, does the U.S. legal system approach prosecutorial immunity?
Well,
I've read some fascinating articles. I've got some more to go on that, and then hopefully next weekend, if everything comes together, maybe you, me, and Rob Bellin can have a chat together.
I'd like that.
Rob. Yeah, I think so. I think that's
good, dude.
Yep. Okay.
All righty, buddy.
We'll enjoy
Diane's.
You are now free to enjoy the rest of your day.
Next Sunday I'll be over on James Sharp, so make sure you're there for that one.
When are you on James's?
Sunday. Not today, but a week from today.
You'll come on James' channel.
And that's going to be at 12 Central my time. Well, 12 Central. So that will be, I would imagine, 8 p.m. for you.
Yeah, but what's Jane calling her channel?
Jane's Sharper Than a Pencil.
Jane Sharper Than a Pencil.
Yeah, I think it's just Sharper Than a Pencil now. I think.
Yes.
Let me verify. She was just Sharper Than a Pencil all Mammothon weekend, so it may just be that.
Oh, here we go. Jane's channel.
Oh, okay, you found it. All right.
Yep.
So those are the ladies that are cropping up to continue to discuss this case. I don't know. You might even say continue to dish about the case, but as long as you're dishing with the truth and the facts and the documents, I'm good with that. So keep people talking. Keep talking about it. Like Dean Strang said. What do you do when that girl was asking him? What do you do in a situation like this? He said, you keep talking about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've all said that. And yeah, we keep talking about it. And guess what? The community keeps growing. It's becoming more vocal. That's the thing I like,
Right. Yeah. Everybody's getting older.
Viewers 1 minute, guests the next minute, host the next.
And people are keeping it classy so that supporters of Avery and Dassey have a good reputation and are not seen as unruly, jerky people who go around insulting people all the time. That's another big part of it. So thank you, everybody out there, for conducting yourself with class and a reasonable, demeanor. So yeah, big hats off to everybody for keeping it classy.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. I would just like to say that I don't know, since I've got this green screen, I just can't find Sean anywhere. Has anybody seen him anywhere? I'm visited. Where the dickens has he got to?
Hilarious. Folks, he kept hiding Sean all over freaking Australia and that sheep. It's almost as bad as when Mark comes and visits me and he swipes Captain Crunch and brings him for dim sum. So anyway, dim sum. God, I'm dying, folks. I really, really want dim sum, but I can't go.
Yeah.
COVID-19. It sucks. God, I hope the restaurant's going to still be open after COVID-19's done.
I'm sure they will be just to entertain you, dude. Just to entertain you. Catch you later, mate.
All right, man. We better, bud. We'll see you, buddy.
Cheers, mate. Bye for now.
See you, man.